What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the official Third Age Reforged YouTube channel. My name is Jordan, also known as Jmonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I have a continuation of an ongoing series of RP scenarios being designed by our Discord's very own Heath Horton. This is a 4 versus 3 good versus evil matchup on a map that was made specifically for this battle, and it is pretty damned cool. So without any further ado, let's take a quick look at the map, and then we can get into the compositions of the armies and into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. The quiet, idyllic hamlet that you see before you is unfortified and largely without defense. There are, however, several terrain features that give the defense forces a distinct advantage. There are only 3 choke points that the attackers can enter through, allowing the defenders to concentrate their forces in a small area instead of spreading themselves thin and risking overextension. Second, this hill between the 2 passes makes an ideal perch for archers and artillery, although any forces stationed here will be dangerously exposed to counterfire. Finally, their flanks and rear are protected by this encircling escarpment, which removes the threat of flanking or encirclement entirely. Moving on now to the army compositions, the first army we're looking at today is the forces of Gundabad, being commanded by Son of Imladris. He's got 2 units of Guardians of Khazad Dûm. These handsome devils are the workhorse unit of the Gundabad faction. The only thing they don't have going for them is AP. They've got high armor, high defense, a lot of HP, and a lot of attack as well, meaning that these guys can stick around in a fight for a very long time. Over here we got a couple units of Witch Realm Scourge Raiders, who when paired with the Guardians of Khazad Dûm are a formidable infantry force to be reckoned with. These guys are cheap AP units with high damage, meaning that they more than make up for the lack of killing power that AP affords a unit like the Guardians of Khazad Dûm. Whoop. Moving on over here, we got a unit of Witch Realm Hammerguard. These guys, honestly my favorite unit, or one of my favorite units in any case in the game. They have high armor, high defense, 3 HP, and of course they are AP thanks to their gigantic warhammers, meaning that these guys have a lot of damage behind them. They're great for cutting down other elites, although they do tend to fall apart in the face of units like Isengard, for example, or things like that. Over here we got a unit of Gundabad Guard. These guys, normally you see them in greater numbers than what you see here. There's only 1 unit, but they are a very reliable spear unit. Of course they're great at taking down cavalry, but they're also good at holding a line thanks to their high armor, high defense, and the extra HP that they boast. Over here we got a unit of Witch Realm Blackguard. This is the General's Bodyguard unit for the Gundabad faction, and of course that is where their general is hanging out. You can see Azog there looking ugly as usual, waiting to get into battle and cleave his foes. Moving on to the meat and potatoes of the Gundabad army, we've got some Trolls of Gundabad. Also got a unit of Black Uruks of the Mountain, a couple units of Numenorian Shadowguard. Don't normally see these elite archers in such large numbers because they are quite expensive and usually you can only afford to bring about 1 of them. But we've got 2 here. They're great ambush archers. Honestly, one of my favorite archer units in the that's available to just about any faction. Down here we got a couple units of Orc Halberdiers, 6 units of Orc Marauders, all of which are AP, meaning that Gundabad is going to be great at cleaving through some of the armies of the Dwarves and the High Elves across the field. Last, but honestly, I would say that they are least, in fact, we have the Orc Fellows. This is very much a fodder unit that is useful solely for the fact that it is both AP and anti-cavalry, but they are very weak to arrows and of course quite weak in melee as well due to their low stats. Moving on now to the forces of Isengard, we got 3 units of Uruk-hai infantry, 3 units of Uruk-hai pikemen, who are a little bit spread out here. We got 1 here, 1 over there, and like 1 somewhere else. A couple units of Berserkers, 3 units of Uruk-hai raiders, 1 unit of Nazgai bodyguard. They are so strong. We've also got some half-orc Bane Guard in the fight as well. 2 units of Bane Guard. Can't really see them. They're hiding at the moment. Shh, don't tell anybody. Also got a unit of Trolls of the White Hands, and I think that just about does it. No, of course we've got their range contingents, 2 units of Uruk-hai crossbows, 1 unit of Uruk-hai raiders, and a single unit of Catapult. Moving on now to the forces of the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, being commanded by Kuro Guro-chan, one of the developers of the mod. He's got 3 units of heavy goblin infantry, 2 units of heavy goblin spears. Actually just 1 unit of heavy goblin spears, that's my bad. He's also got 2 units of heavy goblin halberds, 2 units of Mountain Uruk archers, 1 unit of heavy goblin crossbows, 1 unit of Orc bodyguards, I believe 2 units of Mountain Uruk blades, 2 or 3 units or something like that, 1 unit of Black Uruks of the Mountain, 1 unit of Trolls of the White Hand, 1 unit of Bolg's Champions, who are basically wargs without any of the downside. They are a little bit expensive to bring, however, but they do have armor, and they are anti-everything, essentially. Anti-infantry by virtue of being cavalry, anti-armor, and anti-cavalry for when you need to throw them in against some of the elite mounted warriors for the good factions. We've also got a unit of Orc Bodyguard in here, which is going to serve as the General's bodyguard, of course. And you can't see them. They're currently hiding. Actually, no, we found them. Here they are. Beautiful. The Mountain Orc Berserkers. Multiple HP. They have next to no armor, but they're great for keeping other units in the battle. I believe they inspire units around them by using their chant ability, which essentially turns all low morale units around them into an unbreakable, unstoppable infantry force. Moving on now to the fourth and final attacking army. This is the Forces of Mordor, being commanded by Cannon Fodder, who I'm sure you'll recognize from some of Pixelated Apollo's videos. He's also a mod on the official Third Age Discord and a really nice guy, so stop by sometime on the Discord and say hi to all of us. But he's bringing in one unit of Olokai Trolls. These guys are really, really good. I don't like them as much as I'd like the White Hand Trolls that Isengard is bringing, which, if I didn't mention, by the way, Isengard has a unit of White Hand Trolls. These guys rely a little bit more on their armor than the White Hand Trolls, who have a little bit higher melee defense. So I find the White Hand Trolls better for that particular reason, because they're not as vulnerable to AP attacks as the Olokai Trolls. But of course, the Olokai are very powerful, not to be underestimated. But Cannon Fodder is bringing 4 units of Mordor Moranon Uruks. That is a fun one to say. 1 unit of Troll Catapult. 3, I believe, units of Moranon Bows. Actually, these units are really, really cool. And the person who made them is Jox25, I believe, who is actually one of the developers for Rise of Mordor. So if you like this, then go ahead and check out some of his work elsewhere on that Attila mod. But in behind them, we got 3 units of Mordor Moranon Halberds. Damn, that's too much alliteration for this tongue to wrap itself around. Also got 1 unit of Sauron's Will for an elite pick, Uruk Bodyguard, which is of course where the general's hanging out. You can see the Nazgul right there with his 3 Inquisitor bodyguards. So badass. 1 unit of Morgul Chosen, and of course a full complement of Inquisitors. These guys are, honestly, I think they are the best shock infantry in the game. They've got 3 HP and 50 attack. The only thing they lack is AP, because with that they'd be way too overpowered and would just kill everything. So armored units with high armor and defense values can stand up to these guys, but most other units get cut down pretty quickly. Also got 3 units of Moranon Heavy Maulers, and I think, no, we mentioned the Troll Catapult already. So that basically does it for the attacking forces. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what the defenders are bringing to the battlefield today. Opposite the Orcs of Gundabad, we have a very elite entrenched High Elf army. Got a couple units of Elder Runaway Spearmen being backed up by Lindon Longspears, who I believe are one of the few AP picks that the High Elves still have available to them. I've also got 1 unit of Bow Quenty, backed up by a unit of Sword Quenty. Just 1 unit, though, which is an anomalously small amount of Sword Quenty. A couple units of Elder Runaway Archers, 2 units of Elder Runaway Swordsmen, 2 units of Nor Eternal Warriors, 1 unit of Imladris Storm Raiders with their absurdly large, I would even call those like a sword staff or almost a halberd or something like that. I don't know, but whatever it is, they do a lot of damage with them. They are quite slow moving, though, which is probably the biggest downside to that unit. Over here we got 1 unit of Smiths of Eregion, a classic unit that everybody loves. AP, of course, very, very tough, not easy to kill. Got some more Lindon Longspears there. 1 unit of Imladris Guard, honestly the best pike unit in the game. If you try to run into these guys with anything short of, honestly, I can't think of anything that would survive. Maybe catapult shots. Then they will cut it up really, really badly. Off to their left, we've got a single unit of Imladris Storm Guard. Not as good as they used to be, in my opinion. I think they fall short a little bit of the Mithlon Nobles, but still not a bad unit, of course. And they're Rivendell themed, and who doesn't love that? Up here, we got 1 unit of Noldor Elder Nobles. These are a new unit in .91. I can't stress how deadly these guys are. AP arrows, multiple HP, a huge amount of defense and attack. These guys will cut you up in just about any theater of war. Finally, we've got a single unit of High Elven Artillery. This is the Catapult, and it's in a pretty nice position, I think, to crush units as they move up towards this perch. This is a nice kind of fallback position that the High Elves have set up for themselves. Down here we have one of the first Dwarven armies being commanded by UMAD Commander, who I believe has a YouTube channel where he does a lot of unit reviews and things like that. So I definitely recommend checking him out. His channel is basically the same thing as his name that you see here, so just Google it. But yeah, it's definitely worth it if you want to learn a little bit more about unit stats. He knows more about the game than I do, so definitely go and check it out. But he's bringing a unit of Dwarven Noblemen, 1 unit of Blacklock Engineers, and a single unit of Sons of Durin. He's also got some Sons of the Fallen. Nobody likes to fight these guys. They are so strong, and they actually have really nice damage in this as well. I think the only unit that can beat them is... Actually, no, I can't think of any units that beat them head-on. They're way too strong. But down here we got a couple units of Ironfoot Guard, backing up a single unit of Ironfoot Pikemen. Across the street, we've got one unit of Mithril Guard, which I believe is where the general's hanging out. Yeah, you can see him right there. Looking all sexy. We've also got a unit of Ironfoot Axe Throwers, one unit of Airborne Infantry, who are basically a cut above the Ironfoot Guard. They're a little bit more expensive, but they've got similar stats, and they have AP, which means that they are deadly in close quarters. 2 units of Ironfoot Warriors round off the infantry force, and we got some shock infantry here, which is nice. 1 unit of Axemen of Erebor with those gorgeous... I tried to say glorious and gorgeous at the same time, and it came out terribly. But they look beautiful with those Hobbit models. And we got a unit of Dwarven Miners, and of course he's got his own catapult to back up his defensive line. Moving forward now to the Dwarven Frontline. This is being commanded by Sir Peter Pineapple, which is a wonderful word to say. I just love saying this guy's name. Sir Peter Pineapple picked a pack of pickled peppers and brought 1 unit of Hammerers of Gundabad, 1 unit of Dragon Slayers of Arid Mithrin. He's also got his own unit of Axemen of Erebor, 1 unit of Sons of Durin, a couple units of Khazad Warriors, I believe, and 2 units of Ironfoot Crossbows, 1 unit of Erebor Infantry of his own, 1 unit of Dwarven Axemen, 1 unit of a Dwarven, of course they're Dwarven, Ironfoot Guard, and he got some Khazad Orc Hunters as well to round off his ranged force. 3 units of Ironfoot Pikemen, 1 unit of Dwarven Miners. There's some more Khazad Warriors there. The rest of his force is deployed over at this particular choke point. He's got some Ironfoot Spears and some Ironfoot Warriors and some Ironfoot Pikemen to back them up. Actually, it just occurred to me that I missed some of UMAD Commander's units. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at them over here. He's got some Ironfoot Crossbows and some Ironfoot Halberds hanging out with a single lone unit of Khazad Warriors and Hammerers of Gundabad. So that does it for the defending forces. Let's go ahead and let's get into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy. We come to it at last. The great battle for this strategically insignificant hamlet in the middle of a canyon. Yeah, I have no idea why the forces of evil have committed so many of their resources to trying to take this place. I'm not really familiar with Heath Horton's RP scenario, but it appears they are going to try to do nonetheless. Maybe it's just really important to the dwarves, and therefore Sauron wants to poop all over it. Not sure. But from the looks of things, it looks like the High Elves are going to be the first ones to clash with the forces of Mordor and Gundabad. Over here you can see that Mordor is slowly moving themselves into position, but mostly everyone is still not quite there. I spoke way too soon. Look at this. Isengard going to be the first into the breach, looking to take on these pikemen with their own formidable pike blocks. This is going to be a massacre on either side. I think that the Ironfoot pikes have better armor, however, so maybe they'll be able to stand up to the overwhelming numbers that the Uruk-hai pikemen can bring to bear, but at the moment, it appears that victory is certain for the Ironfoot pikemen, and that the Uruk-hai pike blocks are really having a hard time. But that's alright, because they are just the first wave. All they have to do is soften up this position and get ready to, or to allow their allies to move in and break through the lines. Over here, it looks like Isengard is actually going to split their forces. One end, they're going to assault the dwarves. The others, they're going to move in with some reinforcements to support the forces of Gundabad, which is not a bad move in the least. Look at this. Look at these disciplined elves not wanting to waste any ammunition on these Orc Fellows. It looks like the Bow Quendi have not been having a good time. I don't know really what's in range to shoot them at the moment. Maybe some of these... You know what? I haven't... Oh, it's the Númenórean Shadow Guard giving these guys the business. That makes sense. Yeah, a lot of those Bow Quendi have now fallen in combat. The next stop is going to be the Elder Rinway Archers. I'm surprised they're not being targeted first of all. The Elder Rinway are AP missiles, one of the few AP picks that the High Elves have available to them. I think there's like 3. It's like the Lindon Longspears, the Smiths of Eredin, and these guys. So they are very deadly. They are essentially ranged javelins with a tremendous range that they can use to snipe down important units. So, yeah, I definitely want to prioritize these guys, take them down as quickly as possible. Oop, a little bit of lag there. Come on, Gundabad. Don't let me down. Let's fast forward just a little bit. You can see some High Elven counter fire being poured into those Orc Marauders, but there's just so many of them and not enough Elven bows to go around. And here oops. There we are. The lines meeting. Gundabad clashing with the High Elves, trying to break down this Elven shield wall. It appears to me that Heath Horton's units are a little bit out of formation here. I think it's probably a good idea to move the Elder Rinway Spearmen forward, but he's not going to have time. Gundabad is already charging straight down. Isengard not far behind, getting into those Lindon Long Spears. These guys in defensive formation from the front, though, they might do well. Oh, I say that, and then like 7 of them die. I don't know. It seems like they're going to have a hard time. But this is only the beginning of the High Elven defensive forces. And now the Orcs of Gundabad and their Isengard allies are definitely at the mercy of those High Elven longbows. Let's move on just a little bit farther down the line. See how Isengard is doing. Oh, those Uruk-hai pikemen being driven back soundly by the Ironfoot. Oh, man. There's actually some berserkers in there now. From the front, that's going to be bad times for those berserkers. Assuming that the pikes can keep formation, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to. Those pikes now getting cut down left and right. Defeat is certain for these guys. Those berserkers have really managed to get in there at an opportune moment, break up that formation, and begin to turn the tide of that battle in favor of Isengard. Over here, though, the dwarves definitely have an advantage. Look at this. Look at the scale of the dwarven forces. There's a lot of troops here amassed on this hill. Isengard is really going to struggle, and if that falls, there's not really a whole lot left to replace them. This center line could be shattered, which will allow the defensive forces to go on the offensive. Oh my goodness! And that is going to be precipitated if more of that friendly fire from the catapult keeps coming in and doing what it just did to those poor Isengard raiders and infantry. Over here we can see some Khazad Orc Hunters been moved up here onto this perch. It's a great place for them to be. They're going to give it to those Isengard archers rather down below in that little dell. Over here the Ironfoot Warriors soundly defeating the Mountain Uruk Blades of Kuroguro-chan. Kuroguro sort of delaying his engagement. Oh, brutal! A nice catapult shot. I think that was from Mordor, from that troll catapult in the back. And they just claim the lives of many of those Ironfoot Guard. That is a devastating loss for the Dwarven forces. Elsewhere, Kuroguro-chan now trying to pepper down the Ironfoot pike wall, but it still stands strong. Another big catapult shot coming in. Is it going to get anybody? Doesn't look like it. Nope, everyone is fine. That's very fortunate for the dwarves. But Kuroguro-chan now throwing in some of his heavy goblin infantry to the front of this pike line. That is going to be a tough fight for those gobos. It's going to be, I think, pretty easy for these pike blocks to drive them back, especially being backed up by these Khazad warriors who are quite formidable. And they don't really look like much. I mean, they just have, like, the chainmail and, like, that kind of fur armor underneath it. But damn, do they do a lot of work. They got, like, 43 defense and a lot of AP damage to back that up. And they're still slowly trying to batter down the gates of the Ironfoot. Oh, that was a nice shot. Taking out some of the miners in the back there. The miners really bore the brunt of that artillery volley. But still, they managed to claim the lives of a few of those pikemen. Once this goes, that's going to be it for the dwarves. Not it entirely, but those pikes are really, I think, their biggest advantage here. That's going to help them deal with a lot of the fodder, because from the front rather, pikes are very, very deadly and not easy to knock down, even by elite infantry. They can beat things that are much more powerful, much more expensive than they are, so they definitely want to hold on to these guys for as long as possible and have them do as much work as they can for the defense forces. Elsewhere, the Mountain Uruk Blades still struggling to beat down these Ironfoot Warriors. Ironfoot Warriors giving them the business. Over here, Isengard looks like they're kind of pulling it back a little bit. They're not dying as quickly as they thought they might. But a lot of these troops are exhausted, strangely enough. Although they are exhausted on the other side as well, probably just because of the length of time that they've been fighting. Oh man, those Ironfoot pikes, a lot of damage done to them. But the Ironfoot, or the Isengard pikes, I should say, a lot of damage being done to them. But the Ironfoot pikes not looking so great themselves, down to a mere 31. That's a pretty big loss for them right there. Although, in terms of economy of force, I think that the dwarves definitely came out on top in this. All they needed was one unit of pikes to shut down some elite berserkers and a unit of Isengard pikes. Over here you can see the Gundabad has moved up with some of his Shadow Guard. Let's see how things are going for the High Elves. Not great by the looks of it. Gundabad and Isengard pouring into that breach. And looks like the High Elves have had to fall back on their Triarii, so to speak, committing now the Smiths of Eredin to that fight alongside their Sword Quincy and indeed some Norei Turno warriors. Not a bad thing to do. The Norei Turno do have quite high melee attack and pretty decent defense as well, so they're not a terrible pick once they run out of ammunition to throw into melee. Behind them you can see a unit of Elder Rinway swordsmen ready, eager, wanting to get into the fray and cut down some of these works of Gundabad. Elsewhere, though, where he managed to get his Elder Rinway spearmen in front, things are going a lot better for them, which is very unfortunate because over here they could have held much, much better, but those Lindon long spears were just swept away, and the Elder Rinway in behind them now fighting a uphill battle, literally, against the orcs. Also that Catapult. Keith Horton trying to get that Catapult going, only managing to claim the lives of a few of these guys. They are very, very close to his front line, so if he wants to hit anything, he's going to have to do it in here, and that does pose some risk, at least, to friendly fire for his own High Elven warriors. The Elder Ringway just pouring fire in. These are a lot of fodder units. Gundabad has yet to commit their elites, and they are already doing very well. I think without support, the High Elves are really going to struggle. Yeah, they're certainly getting low on ammunition and other supplies at this point. Some more of these Elder Ringway archers now have fallen back. Looks like the High Elves are forming up for a last stand. They've got their Imladra's Guard rather to fall back on. Uphill, that's going to be brutal. I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to do what they did earlier and sweep away this group of Lindon long spears and then just push their way around that pike block and try and sweep in. But we'll see what the Orcs of Gundabad, what kind of strategies they employ alongside their Isengard allies. Moving on over here, things looking a lot better for the defense forces on this side. Isengard still struggling. They have committed now some of their Uruk Reavers, going to try and beat down some of these Ironfoot Guard just with the sheer numbers and the AP bonus that these guys bring to bear. Elsewhere, though, things not looking good. Looks like it's going to turn around really fast here in favor of the Dwarves. Big charge from the Ironfoot Hammer Guard coming in. This is actually the General's bodyguard unit. Beautiful. Oh, many of those raiders, many of those pikemen fell in that fight. A few of the Ironfoot pikes, or the Ironfoot Hammer Guard, managed to get taken down by the Isengard pikes as they turned around just in time to meet part of that charge. But damn, that is bad news. Having heavy cavalry like this, heavy melee cav like this in behind your lines, that very, very quickly can materialize into a mass rout. Looks like Isengard isn't going to take it on the chin, though. He's moving in with his Trolls of the White Hand, looking to trap these guys between his infantry block and his Trolls. But it looks like they're going to be able to get out of there just in time. Ironfoot Hammer Guard fleeing. Those Trolls in hot pursuit. Looks like they are going to commit. Oh, they want it. They're hungry. They're going for that Hammer Guard. Some Khazad warriors moving in to fight those Trolls of the White Hand, who are now fighting unsupported against Hammer Guard and Khazad warriors while taking a light amount of friendly fire. Isengard not liking it. He's going to pull out of there, try and get as many of his Trolls out, save their HP, wants to conserve this unit for much, much later. You can see some Catapult fire coming in to these Khazad warriors. Oh, not very much was accomplished by that. Managed to take down, I think, a few of those Ironfoot, though, which is a small victory, I suppose. Down here, let's see how Kurogurochan and Mordor are doing. Yeah, Cannon Fodder has now joined the fray, fighting hard against the Erebor infantry, who are actually driving back this massive Orcs. But honestly, they're out of formation, so I have to wonder for how long that's going to last. Over here, the Ironfoot Pikesmen have now been reduced to a meager 24, and it looks like Kurogurochan is going to take full advantage of that. You can see this unit of Mountain Uruk Blades forming up here, poised to overwhelm this Dwarven flank. That could be devastating. Those Erebor infantry could find themselves surrounded on three sides if the forces of Mordor and the Orcs of the Misty Mountains continue to relentlessly push forward. And you can see that that's exactly what they are trying to do on the other end. They're going to try and just hit the flanks, both of them at the same time, and wrap around these Dwarven defense forces and quickly bring them down. Let's move back over to see how the High Elves are managing to fare, see if they've managed to turn this around. And indeed they have. Look at this. There's a lot of dead Orcs and Urukai here. Oh, it was a nice shot. A beautiful shot from that Catapult, just scything through the ranks of Isengard and Gundabad. Looks like Gundabad is now going to have to commit some of their elites. Their fodder units have largely been expended on this assault, but honestly they've managed to do a great job pushing through this choke point. They've pushed the High Elves now down to the bottom of this hill, and there is actually an opportunity here which these Scourge Raiders are taking advantage of. You can see that the Smiths of Eredin and the Elder Enemy Archers have actually gotten themselves a little bit farther forward. Oh, some friendly fire! Definitely killing more of the Elves than it did of the Orcs, but as you can see, they've kind of moved a little bit too far forward and opened themselves up to a flank attack from those Witch Realm Scourge Guard. Oh man, with the loss of so many of their elves in that flank, I think this assault from the Scourge Raiders here could be enough to overwhelm the High Elven front line. Oh, more friendly fire! A little bit of friendly fire. I think more Orcs died that time, which is a good thing. The High Elves can't keep losing numbers to their own catapults. Up here, though, this line's still standing strong, although it is slowly being overwhelmed. You can see the Guardians of Karn Doom now joining the fray, beginning to flank this High Elven spear formation that has stood valiantly since the beginning of the battle. These guys just not given any ground, still very healthy. But I think with this encirclement coming in from Gundabad, this formation here is going to quickly melt away. I can see Gundabad moving up the rest of their elites, getting ready to push through here. One final push through the High Elven forces. Their unit of Hammer Guard here leading the way alongside more Scourge Raiders, Black Uruks of the Mountain, and some Guardians of Karn Doom. It's a very tough force here. All of the Gundabad elites now concentrated in this one area. Well hidden behind this cliff face here. Great move on the part of Son of Imladris there. Very, very sheltered from any incoming artillery fire. Moving on over here, the Dwarves largely victorious from what I can tell. The Trolls of the White Hand, I think they got themselves stuck in there. Some of the half-orc Bane Guard. Oh, goodness, that was so close. That Troll almost got fricasseed. The half-orc Bane Guard now being committed to the fight alongside the Trolls to lend them a little bit of support. I think the Dwarven Warriors here are going to find themselves outmatched. They are now outnumbered and exhausted against the arrival of some of these fresh troops here. These half-orc Bane Guard, I believe, are AP, so they're not going to have any trouble at crunching through that heavy Dwarven armor. Oh, that was beautiful. That is devastating. That could even cause a rout. Nope, the Dwarves rally, charge forward once again, moving into to fill the spots left by their dead brothers. What do we got over here? Kuro Gurochan moving in for a nice flank attack coming up behind the overextended Dwarven position. Oh, these Mountain Orc Berserkers, they're going to do work. Look at this. The surround is real. Let's see what forces they have left to rely on at this point. UMAD Commander, I think, still hasn't been tested. Most of Peter Pineapple's forces, however, have been swept away or are in the process of being beaten down. They've still got another Dwarven army to crunch through, though. And the High Elves over here, they still have a reasonable amount of forces. Not much. I think that if the Shadow Guard were used very well in here, then this High Elven formation would be in a lot of trouble. They're very exposed up here, up on this hill, and they don't have a lot of archers, I think, to counterattack with. They got some Eternal Warriors and some Elder Rinway archers, some very depleted Elder Rinway archers, but other than that, there's not a whole lot going on here for the High Elves, I think, other than this Catapult. Moving over this way. Yeah, UMAD Commander's got a ton of forces left, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. There's still a very large number of orcs in the Misty Mountains. Isengard still has forces, and Mordor has yet to commit any of their units that really matter. Most of their fodder units are now committed on that front line, but they've still got the Temple Inquisitors to come, and they've still got the Sauron's Will and all of that good stuff. Oh man, the Olokai are here though. Look at this. How many men they got left in that unit? Ah, just one. Most of the Olokai have fallen in battle against, I think, probably the Erebor infantry. Oh, that Erebor infantry unit still strong. Over here, it looks like the arrival of these Hammers of Gundabad is going to allow the Dwarven forces to begin to beat back that flank and actually wrap around the attackers. So more help is definitely needed here. And you can see that Mordor is in the process of mobilizing it. Some Mordor Uruks and a lot of movement in the back. There's some heavy Moranon Maulers. I think are going to cause a lot of problems for these heavily armored Dwarven units. They have a lot of AP and a lot of damage behind it as well. Over here, Isengard, I think, is really on their last legs. I mean, they've got their crossbows, which is a great unit to have, especially against these exposed Dwarven units. They're just giving it to these Ironfoot crossbows, who are dying by the droves. Down here, though, the Ironfoot warriors, victorious over basically everything that came at them. And they're going to find themselves, I think, very exposed to that crossbow fire. You can see a lot of flanking shots come in and melt this unit away very, very shortly. Down here, the Khazad Orc Hunters clearly out of ammunition, trying to push on the flank of the Moranon Uruks, keeping them out of the fight and preventing them from flanking the Erebor infantry. So that's a nice move, I guess, on the part of the Dwarven player. Whether or not he intended it or not, the consequences of it are quite beneficial to his army. Moranon Uruks now charging into battle. Says the defeat is certain for them. These Erebor infantry not to be trifled with. They're definitely holding out very, very well at this point. Although it looks like, oh, Isengard coming in with some enfilading fire, just carving a bloody swath through these Dwarven reinforcements and those Erebor infantry. Oh, that is devastating. That is going to turn the fight around right quick. And you can see some more AP damage coming in the form of these Moranon heavy maulers. This is bad news for the Dwarves. They were really managing to turn it around, but I think their luck has officially run out here. So we get one more volley. Oh, man. Devastating, just withering fire coming in from those two units of Isengard crossbows. Down here, Dwarven forces been completely overwhelmed. You can just see piles of dead dwarves, although there is quite a lot of dead orcs in there as well. But now the front line has been swept away. Still looking pretty even, although the Mordor forces, or the evil forces, I should say, do have an extra army. So the allies, or the allied good forces, have definitely killed more than their fair share at this point. Ooh, what do we got over here? Some Trolls of Gundabad still waiting in the wings alongside the Witch Realm Blackguard and the Hammer Guard. The High Elves really on their last legs on this front line. They have just done so much damage, though, to all those fodder units. They have lost quite a lot in return, so it remains to be seen whether or not that's going to be a fair exchange, especially the Smiths of Eredin. That is a really, really nice, very expensive unit that would be nice to have back up here on that final defensive line for the High Elves. Guardians of Karn-Dûm looking to surround these units, trying to minimize casualties. These elite units still very healthy, 148 in that one, 176 in the other, alongside these Witch Realm Scourge Raiders, who have probably suffered the most. Oh man, there's still some Orc Marauders, believe it or not. They managed to come out of this this disgustingly costly battle here against the High Elves. Very, very few of them. Even the Orc Fellows, these guys were on the front line. Oh my god. Oh, that friendly fire, though. Oh, that just annihilated those Smiths. Oh, that's very unfortunate for the High Elves. Although bunching their forces up like this, it is more likely that the Catapult from Horton is going to hit a lot of these Gundabad elites. That could be a very big problem for them. You want to have a strong elite corps going into a situation like this where you have to fight uphill against some of the best pike units in the game, those Umladris Guards. Final stand from the High Elves, fighting back-to-back, giving no ground. No doubt shouting their battle cries to Arda, or to Varda, rather, before they fall and rejoin their family in the halls of Mandos. Oh, man. This is a massacre. Let's see if that Catapult's going to get another hit. I hope he's winding it up. This is a beautiful opportunity. Oh, he's not. He may be out of ammunition. That could be the problem. But, yeah, definitely want to take advantage of that while he still has the opportunity, while those High Elven forces are putting up their last stand. Looks like we can see some Dwarven forces falling back here. Some of the elites from Peter Pineapple are falling back in the face of those Isengard crossbows, who have now occupied the heights, firing downhill into those Dragonslayers of Ered Mithrin. From the rear, they're actually managing to kill some of them. These guys have like 2 or 3 HP. That's not an easy thing to do, and you don't want to lose them like that to those crossbows. Don't know if they're going to be able to get away in time. Probably going to see one more volley come in. And here it comes. They just all stopped in tandem for some reason. Yeah, there it is. More withering crossbow fire coming in from the heights, driving these Dwarven forces back behind. Oh, there goes the Dwarven General from Peter Pineapple. Very unfortunate, but most of his forces, I think, have already fallen. But now these Dwarven forces are falling back towards the relative safety of the serried ranks of UMAD Commander's Dwarven army. What do we got here? Mithril Guard on the front lines. That's a beautiful sight to see. Usually they're a General's Bodyguard unit. You don't see them until the very end, but I think at this point it's not a bad idea to commit them. I think a lot of the fodder units from these 4 armies has been handily dealt with, so they're not going to... they're going to be facing down some of the elites from Mordor and elsewhere. Oh, we got some Bows Champions coming forward from Kuro Guro-chan. I wonder what the plan is here. A lot of Ironfoot Warriors, and there's some pikes in some of these choke points as well, along with some Ironfoot crossbows. So he's going to have to be real careful. There's not a lot of good engagements for these Bows Champions right now. He may just be moving them into position, but yeah, I definitely want to be careful with them. Let's see how things are going over here. Looks like they've largely abandoned this this portion of the town to the forces from Mordor and elsewhere, opting instead to fall back and defend some of the more defensible choke points. This is probably a good idea, although right here I'm not too sure about this. These Khazad warriors are just kind of stuck there. I mean, I suppose they present a menace that has to be dealt with, and that in and of itself can be valuable in keeping all of the pressure off of these 1 or 2 choke points that remain to them. But these guys are they're just sitting here. There's no way for them to get out. Once they're attacked, then that's it. Moving on up here, you can see some of the Mordor fodder units managed to make it out of there alive. Some Moranon Uruks here with some Moranon halberds forming up behind them. Looks like those Bows Champions actually went in to try and poke some holes, test the resolve of these Ironfoot warriors, but instead ended up getting themselves pretty badly mauled. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them that fell there. Let's see what he's going to do. Oh, another charge coming in from those Bolt's champions, but they're under fire now from the Ironfoot crossbows. They just can't seem to decide what they want to do. Oh, some nice catapult shots there going into those advancing mortar forces. You can see a few of those fodder units actually got clipped. Some of the halberds, I think, for the most part. All those Bolt champions charging in. Oh, they just did work. Wow, I can't believe that. I can't believe that actually worked for them. Against a high mass unit like these Ironfoot warriors, already in shield wall, I am shocked that that actually paid off for them. Those Bolt champions paid dearly. I think about 8 or 9 of them falling in that fight there. I guess there's not too many uses for these Bolt champions, so maybe it's worth it if it does thin out this Dwarven Frontline. Because a lot of these Mortar Moradon forces are going to have a hard time just pushing through that unaided. Another big charge coming in here. Kurogurochan trying to weaken that flank. Oh, narrowly missing those Bolt champions. A nice volley from the catapult. See, it actually claimed the lives of many of those Mordor fodder units. Those Bolt champions now overrunning the Dwarven position here. The Ironfoot warriors just can't hold them back. Looks like Kurogurochan is just being cheeky, trying to get these guys in behind. He's probably going for that catapult if he can. I don't think his Erebor Axemen are going to let anything get past them, though. One lone solitary Bolt's champion. I think it's going to be enough, perhaps, to silence this Dwarven Catapult, which has full ammunition at this point. So, honestly, if you can just give yourself a short reprieve, then it's definitely going to be worth it. He is the lone survivor of his unit of Bolt's champions. I know there's stuff going on elsewhere, but I want to see how well this guy does. So let's we'll come back to that in just a moment. Oh man, this is a desperate situation for the dwarves. So the High Elves can't hold on to the heights. Then the forces from Mordor from Gundabad and Isengard may be able to move in their forces up here and begin to put some enfilading and rear fire into the dwarven units in below. But so far, not a lot happening over here. So I want to see what's happening with that Bolt's champion if he's managed to survive this long. He's still kicking. Look at him go. Silencing that catapult, doing a lot of damage to the crewmen. Like some of these dwarven units, some of the Sons of Durin were trying to get in there, but they've decided to turn around for some reason. I guess they're perfectly fine to just let this Bolt's champion do his bloody work against the catapult. Oh, look at that, just cutting people down left and right. Truly, this guy is the hero of the battle. How many lives is he saving right now just by keeping this catapult crew occupied? Sons of Durin have now turned around. They're chasing off that Bolt's champion. Looks like you, my commander, wants to get his artillery piece back online. Kurogurochan just nimbly dancing out of range of the Sons of Durin, who are very slow and aren't going to be able to catch him. Elsewhere here, that weakened flank has really started to pay off for Mordor. I think that was the best call that Kurogurochan could have made in that sort of situation. You can see now there's nothing but Dwarven miners left, and a few of the Ironfoot warriors to hold the line against a ton of Mordor fodder units. This flank here is still very strong, so as long as the Mordor forces here can hold out for a little bit longer, then they can break through the Dwarven miners and begin to encircle these guys. What we got going on over here? It looks like that final Bolt's champion now has fallen. I think there was some arrow fire coming in as well, possibly from the Ironfoot crossbows from you, my commander. Probably just had enough of that Bolt champion's malarkey and opted to take him down as quickly as possible. So this catapult crew now back online. They just got to get those catapults into position, and this is going to be a big problem for the forces of Mordor. Now they're all exhausted and actually starting to lose a little bit on this flank. A couple good catapult volleys could be enough to cause a mass rout and panic these orcs, send them fleeing off the battlefield. What do we got back here? A couple of little duels. These are always entertaining to watch. Ironfoot warrior versus Moronon Uruk. Who's going to come out on top? Definitely not the Mordor Uruk. Let's see if he can pull it off. Oh, just very aggressive on the part of the dwarf there. Oh, that was so close. That didn't hit anything. That is very surprising. Kurogurochan moving up to his Mount Uruk Archers. This is probably the best thing he can do at this point. Try and hold down the line, hold the flanks, and then just pepper these guys down with massed volley fire from his very numerous archers. These guys are not in any position to run away. Those catapult pieces are very, very slow. So maybe they'll get 1 or 2 more volleys out of here. Hopefully they're good ones. Let's find out. All these more Mountain Uruks are now repositioning. Oh, that was devastating. He did cut a hole through his own lines, but the effect on the Mordor forces, I think, was a little bit greater than the losses to his own troops. Oh man, Kurogurochan just going for it with his Mountain Orc Berserkers. Actually, they're routing. They are running off the battlefield. I think he was trying to run them through, get them in there and silence that catapult, but luckily for UMAD Commander, their courage gave out. And now those Mountain Uruks are kind of just trapped. They're just trapped, yeah, behind enemy lines, and really not able to escape without getting cut down. And also got some Troll Catapult. The Troll Catapult must be out of ammunition if they're committing their trolls to the fight here. Oh, are they going to get another shot? Oh, beautiful. Oh, all 3 hits connecting, doing astounding damage to those Mountain Uruk archers. They've now begun their assault. This Dwarven Catapult crew falling very quickly. There's one of the Troll Catapult crewmen, crew trolls, is now in there beating down some of these Catapult crewmen, so they're not going to be able to fire. And I think with those withering volleys coming in from the Mountain Uruk archers, that's going to be the end of this Catapult unit. Although that being said, it did do a reasonable amount of damage to the forces of Mordor, especially right here where it connected. I mean, that's clearly being felt. These forces have thinned out a lot in the past few moments. Heavy Goblin Spears from Kurogurochan and moving in. There just seems to be no end to the evil troops. You can see more and more of them pouring in. Despite the horrendous slaughter, there are still reserves. Heavy Goblin Crossbows yet to be tested moving into the fight. That's going to be a problem for the heavily armored Dwarven units. Up here you can see a lot of Sauron's will. Actually, some of the Temple Inquisitors as well. Looks like they got committed on that flank after all, and were instrumental in breaking through it. Moving a little bit farther down the line. Let's see how things are going in the Gundabad Isengard's High Elf matchup. So Gundabad under Son of Imladris has finally mobilized his elites, moving them forward. Some of these Numenorian Shadow Guard leading the column, but unfortunately getting themselves cut down. There's only about 62 left in this unit, and this one over here is not looking any better with a mere 46. Yeah, so unfortunately for Gundabad, they may not be able to capitalize on that terrain advantage that taking this position from the High Elves would grant them. These Guardians of Karn Doom exhausted, I think, from trying to take down those High Elves. These High Elven forces have been well rested, and they are waiting and very patient. I think the best thing he's going to be able to do at this point is to break through those Lindon Long Spears, definitely the weakest portion of the line. And if the High Elves try to move in and flank whatever forces are in the middle, then if he has reserves, then he can move in and flank this Imladris Guardian, or this Imladris Guard Pike unit, because that's the only way that he's going to beat them with the forces that he has remaining. Either way, this is going to be a tough fight for the forces of Gundabad. If the High Elves can somehow beat down these guys, then they're going to be able to move in and support their allies against Mordor, and that is going to be all she wrote for the forces of Sauron. Oh, so we got the Nazgûl bodyguard here on the front lines, fighting against these Ironfoot pikemen, but look at this. Victory seems certain for these guys. These Nazgûl bodyguard just aren't able to get in there. This is not a great position for them to be in. You want to try and either skirmish these guys down, maybe use some of the crossbows, or just wear them down with numbers. Yeah, definitely don't want your Nazgûl bodyguard unit on the front lines. You can see the defeat is nearly certain for these guys. Although Mordor has come in, or actually no, this is Kurogurochan has come in with some of his heavy goblin halberds to turn the tide, and they're just going to push through that formation, break through the pike block, and begin to surround and isolate portions of this unit, which is the only way that they're going to come out on top of this without much slaughter. Back here, though, you can see UMAD Commander and some of the remaining forces from Sir Peter Pineapple have reformed. They got a couple units of crossbows in here. They're going to make the Mordor forces pay for every inch. UMAD Commander actually falling back with his unit of Dwarven Noblemen just as the Orcs of the Misty Mountain and Isengard begin to break through. What do we got over here? Some Ironfoot axe throwers. I think they're going to be a little bit too late to the party. Yeah, they may not be able to get out of there and get themselves get their axes throwing before the forces of Isengard and Mordor manage to break through and silence them. But I suppose we'll see. All it takes is one stray unit. Maybe they're out of ammunition. They're just going to go right into the battle. Well, there you go.
Only half the enemy force remains.
That's going to be a godsend for the defensive forces of the dwarves. Although it looks like Kuro Grochan's managed to break through with a few of his goblin spears, getting through that line, moving into probably try and silence the Ironfoot crossbows of Sir Peter Pineapple and UMAD Commander. These guys are going to lose. They're going to lose hard, but they are going to silence these guys for a little bit. Oh, what do we got going on over here? Oh, they're pulling those Sons of the Fallen out of position. Questionable. Gundabad, if they want, they could just circumvent the High Elves, potentially, and commit some forces down there, but it looks like they've definitely got their hands full right now. This Gundabad Guard pushing uphill against the Imladris Guards, somehow beating them. I don't believe my eyes. That is very surprising. This Gundabad Guard should be losing hard to that elite unit. It's like he somehow managed to get his trolls in the back. Now fighting some of the older Elder Nobles, that's not a fight that those trolls are going to win. They're going to lose that badly. Hammer and Anvil attack now from those trolls of Gundabad. This is not looking great for the High Elves. Oh man, slowly but surely being crushed on the flanks. The Hammer Guard are in there as well, being backed up by some Guardians of Khar Dûm. That is a devastating infantry line to have to deal with, and I don't think the High Elves have what it takes at this point, given the units left to them, to shut down this push from Gundabad. I think that this is basically going to be all she wrote for the High Elves. Although maybe if he commits his Elder Nobles over here to hold down this this part of the line, maybe even plug this gap right here, then he might be able to hold out for just a little bit longer and at least inflict crushing casualties on the forces of Gundabad, so their addition to the battle against the dwarves won't matter all that much. Let's see what we got here. Oh man, those poor heavy goblin spears trapped now behind enemy lines, fighting against the Dwarven noblemen and some Sons of the Fallen at one point. What do we got over here? Ironfoot crossbows, perhaps. Oh yeah, all those Ironfoot crossbows, just giving it to the Sons of the Fallen. These guys are very, very well armored, and the best way to kill them, I think, without losing a ton of units, is to shoot them down with AP missiles. Although it looks like they're firing into the rear of those Dwarven noblemen, which is not a bad move as well. We got over here some Blacklock engineers. I think they might be out of ammunition, probably being committed to the fight against those heavy goblin spears. I think these guys have probably got a ton of kills if they've been sitting up here firing constantly down into the forces of Isengard and Mordor. I don't know if they're going to be able to break through here. I think the evil forces might be running out of steam. I got some heavy goblin crossbows. What are these guys up to? Ah, I see. They're supporting the Isengard crossbows against those Dwarven noblemen. Over here we got some Blackback Mountain Berserkers. I think I'm going to miss these guys during the army compositions, but these guys are very deadly, and honestly exactly what is needed right now to deal with this Dwarven battle line. I think a lot of their crossbows are now low on ammunition or almost out of ammunition, so those Blackbacks don't really have a whole lot to fear from incoming missile fire. And indeed, that is where Kuro Grochan is going to send them. With that crossbow support, I think these guys are going to be a tough unit to beat. They're actually one of the winning units from our last tournament. That's how strong they are. Over here, the Mordor elites have now been committed, and they have pushed their way through all Dwarven resistance. This catapult position being overrun completely. Some Ironfoot warriors fleeing for their lives. These catapult crewmen soon to follow them. And that is going to leave a giant hole in the forces of UMAD Commander. I don't know how he is going to fill that in. Over here, it looks like these Khazad warriors and some of the Sons of Durin now pinned in two places by the Mount Uruk archers, and some of the other elite units from Mordor as well, like the Sauron's Will, for example. This is bad. I don't know if the defenders can really come back from this. Let's take a look at the percentages. Still dead even, despite the numerical advantage. The defenders have managed to inflict serious casualties upon the attackers. But I don't know if they're going to be able to hold out for too much longer. This seems to me like they're just running out of units and running out of options. Let's see what these Ironfoot crossbows are up to. Probably wanted to get a piece of those Blackback Berserkers if they can manage the angle from here. Oh yeah, that's exactly where they're going after. You can see these Blackbacks really struggling against an understrength unit of Blacklock Engineers. They need to cut these guys down fast and move in before these Ironfoot crossbows can cripple them. Over here, the Dwarven noblemen alongside the Sons of the Fallen, they are holding out. It said the defeat was certain for them, but honestly, don't believe it. These two units here, I think, are going to be instrumental in beating down this offensive from Isengard. We got over here some heavy goblin crossbows. A lot of them, I think, have died to counter fire from either the Blacklocks or the Ironfoot crossbowmen. Over here, how are the Mithril Guard doing? I totally forgot about these guys. Looks like they have been bisected and scattered by the forces of these Orc bodyguards and the Black Watch Legion, who are almost as heavily armored as the Mithril Guard themselves. So this choke point here is not going to be able to hold for very long either, and a lot of dead dwarves. I think a lot of the Ironfoot Axemen dead in the back here as well. Yeah, so that's going to leave the only healthy Dwarven force here is still very isolated. Looks like some of those Blackbacks have now finished dealing with those Blacklock Engineers, and they're now coming into the rear of this Dwarven position. I think this is basically all she wrote. We can probably count the Dwarves and their allies out at this point. But speaking of their allies, let's see how the High Elves are doing. Oh man, those Imladra's guards have managed to drive them back. This is exactly what I was talking about. Very, very tough pike unit, especially uphill. Gundabad are really struggling, I think, to beat down what remains of the High Elves, given the numbers that they have available to them. Especially up here where the Noldor Elder Nobles are fighting against the Hammer Guard. These Hammer Guard are strong, but I don't know if they're that strong. These Noldor Elder Nobles are vicious in close quarters. Yeah, those Hammer Guard are actually being driven back. So I think it's safe to say that, assuming that the High Elves don't get completely devastated here, they will be able to bring a little bit of support to bear against the remaining attacking forces. And if they can hold on to that Elder Noble unit, keep them strong, like above 30, then maybe they're going to have enough units to turn the tide of this battle. Orc bodyguards here fighting in close quarters against the Ironfoot crossbows. It says the defeat is a distinct possibility for both sides. I'm not sure what to make of that. Maybe that means they're going to both wipe each other out. But I think that the bodyguard have the numbers and they have the HP, so these crossbowmen are not going to be able to stand up to them for very long. Down here, the Dwarven Noblemen beating back the Blackback Mountain Berserkers. These guys just, I think, running out of steam thanks to the archer support that they were getting from the crossbows up there on the hill. Sons of the Fallen beating back what remains of these fodder units. There's a few of the Goblin heavy crossbows from Kuroguro-chan still opening fire on these Sons of the Fallen, but they're holding on. I think there's enough of them, and they're probably strong enough at this point to beat back those Uruk-hai units right there and then crush those Goblin crossbows. How are things going over here? The Mithril Guard managing to hold on, but just barely. Just a few of them still left. Some Ironfoot Halberds in there as well, poking holes in that little bodyguard unit. The bodyguard trying to escape the clutches of these Dwarven warriors, but they're not letting go so easy. Oh man, this Blackwatch Legion just got beat up. Over here, there's still a healthy contingent of Mithril Guard. That's where most of them still are. There's a halberd or two over here and a bannerman to help them out. I think these Blackwatch Legion might lose that fight, honestly. Although I say that now, but there's some heavy Goblin halberds moving in to flank what remains of that elite Dwarven bodyguard unit. Very unfortunate for them. There's basically no dwarves left over here except maybe a small stand by the Sons of Durin and the Khazad warriors. Oh man, they're hacking down the Sauron's will. There goes UMAD Commander's general. I believe it was inside of his Sons of the Fallen unit. Very unfortunate for him.
Victory will be ours.
Oh man, this Uruk bodyguard alongside. I think there's some Temple Inquisitors in there as well. You know, I don't know what happened to the Temple Inquisitors. I hope they haven't been held back at this point. Oh no, here they are, beating down what remains of the Hammerers of Gundabad from UMAD Commander. Still very healthy, 72 left in the unit. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the High Elves can bring to bear. That's going to be a hard thing for them to beat. These Dwarven units now being beaten down by what remains of the Isengarders with a little bit of help from the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. Oh man, look at this. These Black Uruks coming out of nowhere, assisting that bodyguard in crushing what remains of the Ironfoot crossbows. How are the High Elves doing up here? They've managed to do what they needed to do, but I don't think they're going to be able to kill these Blackguard and such in time to move down there and make any difference in the fight with the dwarves. Because there's not very many of the dwarves left at this point, so really, yeah, really, I don't think these guys have a chance. Unless they move the Imladris guards down there now and maybe try and put them into a choke point or something like that, then potentially, but we'll see. Oh man, they're still just getting shot from the rear by those Dwarven crossbows. There's an opportunity here for UMAD Commander to move in with the Sons of the Fallen and destroy these heavy Goblin crossbows and still have time to turn around and deal with that Orc bodyguard unit. But maybe he realizes that defeat is certain at this point, so he's resigned himself to his defeat. Oh, this Orc bodyguard's just giving them the business. Looks like these Ironfoot crossbows may be out of ammo, or they're just moving in a little bit closer. They're probably just moving in a little bit closer. Risky move on the part of Kuro Goro-chan. He might be expecting UMAD's commander's attention to be elsewhere. Oh, look at this. Very sneaky. It's going to be a nice firing arc for these guys. They're now reloading. They definitely have some ammo. Let's fast forward that just a little bit. See how many of these Sons of the Fallen they managed to take down in a volley. None, surprisingly. Absolutely none. That's how strong these Sons of the Fallen are. Shot from the rear with heavy goblin crossbows. Still fine. Looks like another one of the Dwarven commanders maybe has fallen. I'm not sure what that was, actually.
The battle is very much in our favor. Victory will be ours.
Sauron's will now being soundly defeated by just a few members of the Sons of Durin. Yeah, the orcs are definitely going to win over here. Cannon Fodder's forces are going to be victorious. But damn, look at the cost. That was just a couple of Dwarven units there. Let's move on back to the High Elves, since I think that's where all of the action is. All those Blackguard are just getting brutalized by those Elder Nobles. But unfortunately, the Elder Nobles are taking a lot of casualties in return, now down to a mere 29. If these guys could have been at 40, then on a hill, they could have been a serious menace to what remains of the forces of Sauron. But at this point, with a mere 26, they're actually starting to lose a little bit to those Blackguard. Yeah, Heath Horton moving in with what remains of his Imladris Guard, looking to flank these guys with pikes. There's just one or two, I suppose, of the Shadow Guard that stand in his way. He's going to be able to cut them down very swiftly, reform, and then move in to surround this bodyguard unit. I wonder if Azog is still in the fight. Yep, there he is. Let's see what he's got. It's a very strange-looking model. It looks like his hand is a little bit bugged or something. I don't know. Some strange vertice issues going on there. All those pikes moving in, just closing the noose here around this unit of Blackguard. We're very, very quickly being defeated. The High Elves somehow victorious against the forces of Gundabad and a healthy contingent from Isengard. That was pretty incredible. Let's see, we got here 99 to 97. There is no shame in this defeat. Definitely gave the forces of Sauron what for, killing way more of the evil forces than died of the good. This poor Blackguard, not having a great time. These Black Numenorians being swiftly cut down by the angry High Elves. They've lost a lot of their brothers today, and they're exacting their revenge on the hide of that bodyguard unit. Now let's see. Let's see how the rest of these forces are going to respond to this. Mordor moving in with their Temple Inquisitors. That's not going to be an easy fight for the what remains of the High Elves. Let's see if they could do that all by themselves. I would be a little bit unsurprised if they could pull that off. What is this? Still some forces here from UMAD Commander and Peter Pineapple. I think they were trying to retreat up this little ramp here. Now they're just moving down against these Temple Inquisitors, maybe trying to buy the High Elves a little bit more time to deal with those Blackguard. If the High Elves can move quickly, they might be able to trap everything that remains of the forces of Sauron down here on this ramp, and that could be what they need to get a lot of work done. I don't know if they'll win. I don't think they have the numbers to win, but that would definitely be a game changer for sure. And it looks like that's exactly what Heath Horton is trying to do. These Imladris Guard, not a whole lot of them left, moving in to try and get onto that ramp and form up to meet those Temple Inquisitors. There goes Azog himself getting cut down by some of the Storm Raiders, but I don't think they're going to be able to get themselves into position quick enough to make a difference. You can see more and more of those Temple Inquisitors alongside some bodyguards. Very healthy unit of bodyguards, still 93 left. Awesome, Blackback Mountain Berserkers coming in from the rear. Oh, that's very unfortunate. These Imladris Guard are going to die very, very quickly. What do we got up here? Older Elder Nobles trying to fire downward. I don't know if they have the firing arc here to do this. Now, they definitely need to move down and try and support the Imladris Guards who are just being overwhelmed. Yeah, their formation is broken, attacked on all sides. This pike unit is not going to last very long. So you can see them trying to like form up back to back, form some kind of Skiltron formation. Let's see how they do. Oh, just 8 of them left. The rest of their brothers have been swiftly cut down. Temple Inquisitors coming in from behind alongside those bodyguards, cutting these high elves down. Very, very unfortunate. Oh, look at this guy, the last survivor of the unit. Oh, no, not the last survivor. There's 2 of them left. Now he's the last survivor, the last man standing, and there he goes, struck down from the rear by a Temple Inquisitor. Oh, man, those vicious volleys from the Noldor Elder Nobles, claiming the lives of many of those Black Ruiks. Point blank now, just getting shot in the face by those elite Elven archers. Oh, man, one more volley. Do it for Varda. Oh, Kurogurchan trying to move in for surround with those Black Ruiks. These Noldor Elder Nobles, I think the best thing they could do is maybe fall back up here and put up a final stand, but it doesn't look like they're going to have the opportunity. Those Black Ruiks are going to come in from the rear and pin them in place. What are they shooting at this point? No, that's the last volley they're going to get off. Now getting charged at the rear. At the same time, the Temple Inquisitors are moving in from the front, pinning this Noldor unit between the hammer and the anvil. Oh, that's very unfortunate. So let's go ahead and let's fast forward. Let's look at this. 100% basically on the side of the defenders to 97% of the evil forces. A pretty well-balanced scenario, I have to say. Oh man, look at those Noldor Elder Nobles. Fighting hard, back to back. These are probably veterans of fights from the First Age. They are used to being outnumbered and surrounded. And they're not going to give up. Absolutely not. Only about 7 of them left. How are they doing? I mean, really, what do the evil forces have left at this point? Whoop. I think it's just these Temple Inquisitors and that unit of Orc bodyguards. Like, everything else is dead. Oh, yeah, and the Black Ruiks of the mountain. And some heavy goblin spears, but there's only about 4 of them left, so I don't count them. There's practically nothing left from anybody at this point. Oh, the High Elven General. Most of his bodyguard has been slain. In fact, he's the last one alive, killing one of those Orc bodyguards. Look at this guy. A final glorious stand by this High Elven Lord. He's not going down without a fight. Let's see if we can take down one of these Temple Inquisitors. His last great act of defiance before being sent to the halls of Mandos. Oh, I don't think it's going to happen. He's getting stun-locked. Oh, from behind. Oh, and there it is. He's just getting hacked down, bleeding from 100 wounds. And he's not going to be able to follow through and take down one of those Temple Inquisitors. He is the last man standing for the defending forces. That was fantastic. 100% to 97. A very close battle. Well done to everybody involved. Let's take a look at some of the kills now. Pretty good, pretty average, I think, on their side. There wasn't as many defenders to go around, but like, look at the damage that these guys did. I'm not too sure which one of these Dwarven players is which, but they both did a tremendous amount of damage. 5,205 kills. The High Elves doing equally, well, nearly equally as well, with a whopping 4,790. That was impressive. Let's take a look at some of the casualty screens here. Let's see who managed to do really well. The Hammer Guard bringing down the hammer and getting 126 kills. Some of the Guardians of Karn Doom, I'm whopping 176. 200 off the Witch Realm Blackguard. Definitely got their money's worth out of that unit. The Shadow Guard getting a lot of kills as well. All of those probably being High Elven archers or other important units like the Elder Rinway. So, damn. Nicely done, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. And if you guys are hungry for more, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, yeah, leave a like because it's always appreciated. It's always nice to know that the work is appreciated. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.